I always kind of got that imposter thing where you're like, what are you doing music for? Why are you 4 albums in? And I still think my dad is having a big elaborate prank, and one day there's gonna be balloons and confetti come down at somewhere in a festival, and we're like, we got you. That was always in the back of my head. So I was like, all right. And I think this time around I'm like, nah, screw it. We're a band. Let's write some music that we would like listening to.
I'm a Cadaver. Alakazam was the name of that one. It's by none other than Psychedelic Porn Crumpets, because who else would come up with such a good name for a song there? And we're lucky enough right now to be joined by the frontman of Psychedelic Porn Crumpets for the third time. Jack, welcome, and welcome back, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me back on, lads. Pleasure to be here.
Now, we've got you on because I was thinking before, it felt like, not long ago that we had you on, and that was for the release of Night Gnomes, which was last year. But you guys have done it again, and you've got a new album ready to drop November. Oh, actually, sorry, just dropped on the 10th of November. So first of all, how's that turnaround work for you guys? Because for some artists, an album will take 4 years. And for you guys, you've turned around a whole, and we know what your songs, your music's like. It's so layered and there's so much to it. And you've turned that around in 1 year.
Yeah, I suppose we realized we peaked back in 2016, so we're just milking it now. Just trying to, get as many records as possible. No, hopefully the opposite. I feel like we're just starting to get actually kind of comfortable and into a almost like a work routine, which is, I suppose the thing that you've always been trying to chase when you are doing music is to be able to have the freedom and not the worry of working at somewhere else to make money from music. So it's all right, if we're going to do it, we'll treat it like a job. We all come from, obviously, the building site and stuff like that. So when you're sort of going from Monday to Saturday, you're like, oh, if we put that same attitude into music and writing and recording and touring, hopefully we can, record 100 songs a year, narrow that down to 10, and here's the best ones that we can make some weird names for and put them out on whatever.
This is your 6th album. There will be 10 tracks, or there are 10 tracks on it. Last time we spoke to you, as Amy mentioned, you just released the previous album, and a lot of that was done in-house by yourself. How much of this album was also done by yourself, or did you seek a bit more external help to try and get that turnaround done within pretty much 12 months?
Probably should have asked for more external help, but it's... No, I think this time around I try to do more, if anything. It was all right, I think last time I got so reliant on Jelly, and sort of a mastering engineer, and I think every time you give it to someone else, it changes a little bit, that it feels like not your creation as much. So I did try this time around to make it as finished as possible before I send it off to Jelly, who mastered the record. But we sat together for, a good probably 2 or 3 months after the album had been finished, just tweaking and getting little bits right. So there is someone there, he's polishing my turds, so to speak. Yeah. And he's really good at it. So, yeah, I think...
Is that something?
Sorry.
No, you go.
Oh, no, I was finished. I was going to talk back.
Just a bit more waffle. That's fine. We do it all the time. Is that something you think you might pursue, outside of just what you do now with Psychedelic Porn Crumpets? Do you think you might, or have you already sort of mixed and mastered some tracks for some other bands locally?
No, I don't know. I never really have the time. And I don't know how well I would do it for someone else. I suppose for me, it's it doesn't feel like a job. So it's like a switch off in a way. I would do it with other people who are mates and see how this works or what techniques. But then I'm filled with bad techniques. So it's almost like if I showed you anything, it'd be just wrong in the first place. And then they'd be like, why does that work? But I have no idea. What's phasing? I don't know, but it works unphased. So you're just that seems to be my technique or logic behind it. But I would love to eventually. And I suppose every time I'm doing something wrong, I know it's wrong. So I'm sort of learning as we go, which usually would take someone a couple of years for a degree. It will take me 20 before I understand how to plug something in right. So
just carving your own path there.
That's it. Yeah.
Now, with this new release, Fronzoli, I just wanted to ask you this because it's been something that's pricked my curiosity lately. We're seeing a lot of artists drop albums that are like 20-something tracks and et cetera, to fit in with algorithms, and I believe that's why it's like, you get some kind of algorithmic advantage through doing so. And I was wondering, obviously you haven't done this with this album, it's 10 tracks, and I was kind of delighted to see that. Was there temptation at all from... labels, you don't have to worry about that because you've released this one via your own label. But was there a temptation to kind of play into that as that's what a lot of the industry is doing? Or were you more than happy the whole time to just go, no, we're doing 10 tracks, traditional album?
Yeah, I was completely unaware that people were doing 20 tracks albums at the moment. I think I'm stuck in a time warp where things I liked was sort of from the 90s and a bit before that. And so now, like, going forward, I mean, I listen to music. I listen to music, yeah, but no. Well, I saw Mac DeMarco had released like a 60-song record, didn't he? Like, and I was like, that's absurd. Like, I don't know. I was like, how can you get through that? But I suppose some people have. But I don't with Dandy Warhol singer. I can't remember his name, but he was just like, you have to record as much music as possible to get the shit ideas out, so that when you are onto a good thing, you're not trying to fill it with the sort of other ideas that you have floating. Because if you don't get it out, it's going to keep mixing up with the good ideas. So I completely get the point of writing and recording as much music as possible, but just burn it, just throw it away, like put it onto a hard drive and send it off with all that Bitcoin somewhere that people are trying to hunt for. But I reckon, yeah, now release the good things, because it must hurt, like coming back to it 10 years later and you're seeing like, whoa, why did I do that? Do you know what I mean? It'd be hard, be embarrassing.
My thoughts of this.
That it's not embarrassing being in a band called Psychedelic Porn Crumpets and in the sixth record.
Hey, it's endearing, and it's earned love from us at the very least, but I know a lot of other people. Now this as I alluded to before, this release Fronzoli, is it your first? You didn't release Night Gnomes off your own label, did you? Or this one? You've got your own label, What Reality Records. So what's the process been like, like kind of setting that up for yourself? What was the motivation behind it, and how's it been to kind of release your own music in your own way without that label pressure?
Yeah, I remember we were all having a chat, like, because we were going on tour, and it sort of became apparent that like we were sort of getting a fee to write the record, but it was kind of just we weren't being lazy with it, but it was so comfortable that after a 3-album deal, then it's like, oh, we did this many numbers, so like obviously the label's trying to push you and you're trying to get into more markets and write better music, but it sort of just felt like you were being paid by someone else to do something creative that I was a bit like, oh, like it kind of goes against all your like instinct to why you are doing it. So it's pretty much, if we release something that is bad, like we're not a band because we can't afford to do another record. So I think going back into your own bubble of what is good, you're going to release something that you have to be happy with, and you have to sort of put like as more work and more effort, but I think that's got a better payoff because you're going to have the rewards yourself. So I think the label before for Night Gnomes pressed something like 13,000 records, and we would still get the same amount of money. So it sort of like doesn't really matter how much the label sells. But this time round, we've just pressed 4,000, and we've made more than that label has given us over like three albums. So it's almost like you kind of have to weigh up as well. If you're gonna do it, you might as well trust your own bat and go like try and give it a crack yourself, because I think that way it's probably more humbling when you if you fail as well. At least you failed on your own shoulders, and
you obviously reap the rewards as well. You get the full slice of the pie instead of a little slice.
You can chop your head off with your own sword. Yeah.
Is this something that's been in the works for a little while? Like, perhaps during COVID, where you're sitting at home and you were thinking about, you're obviously already mixing a lot of your own music and recording it yourself. Was it a natural progression, and has that been in your mind for a while, or how did it come about?
Well, I think the OG plan, like we mixed the first record and did the same. We've sort of had the same process from 1 and 2, and we did a little self-release on the second record, and then I think things just got too out of hand with touring and costs, and when we were on the third and fourth, and then we were like, why are we giving away the like half of it or this sort of music that we've spent doing it in-house, and we're happy to ship them out, and we have these days where we are just biling the mailers, putting the records in, like having a one-on-one communication as well with fans, just because it's a small amount of community that we can actually deal with ourselves. So I think it's always been the plan to be self-releasing and an independent band. So it felt a bit of a shame when we're like, yeah, we have our own record label, but we're also signed to another record label. So you're just like, oh, if they can't do their own band, like how are they going to sign anyone else? So from now it just feels like, all right, cool. We've got control of what we want to do again. And it's really exciting because it literally is, it could go anywhere. It could fail, which I mean, if you're failing, then at least you're not tied into a 3-album deal and you know your shit and you got to write another 2 records. You're like, oh man, this is savage. Do you know what I mean? That would be awful. So now it's like, cool, like we've already made enough money to write another album after this. So I'm like, fuck yeah, like let's go. And it's not going to be in a year or 2. It could be whenever. Do you know what I mean? It might be on our own terms. So I think we've sort of given ourselves a bit of time and a bit of leeway to be able to write and record whatever we want, which is pretty special.
We want it turned around again in 12 months time. 12 months again for the next turnaround, since you don't have any other, people to talk to or anyone else to slow down the process. It's all on you.
Yeah, there you go. Months. Oh shit. All right, what have we done?
Now, I want to talk about touring as well, because you're only a few weeks back from a US tour, and the last time we spoke, I remember you very candidly talking about the maturation of your touring processes and how you were at an age and a time and an evolution where you could go and see the sights and actually enjoy the places you're in rather than just being hungover or onto the next show or whatever else. Did that continue on your US trip? Did you feel like you were getting a more rounded travel experience?
Yeah. Yes and no. Like, obviously there is like 8-hour drives between places in America where it's just, you can't even see like the petrol station. You literally have like a 10-minute window to go. Like, there's got so many fun things there. They've got like all the cowboy hats and stuff. That's literally all we saw. But me and my wife we had a little holiday beforehand, so that was kind of cool. Like, it's getting to that stage now where you can be like, all right, if we're going to America, like let's take 2 weeks off before and go round, and we went to Vegas and New Orleans and we're in New York for a bit. Like, that was sick. And it sort of got to the point where it's like, if we know we're putting our head down touring wise, then you can have the enjoyable things as well outside of that. So the work-life balance used to be, don't get hungover and work harder and then live harder. But now it's like, all right, sweet. Like, I think we're all sort of getting to that state where we're like, all right, well, if we're going there, we might as well have a bit of a trip and enjoy ourselves around it, and then treat the shows as shows. So that was always the hardest thing as well, trying to feel like you're on holiday, but you're not. Like, it's taken us years to realize that it's for everyone else. So as much as I would love to be in the front row, being like, oh, yeah, and with 9 steins attached to a helmet or something, like, yeah, but I suppose it's work, but it's fun. It's a good job to have.
You probably wouldn't want to trade it for many other jobs, and there'd be a lot of people who would love to trade their jobs for what you do as well. So it's good that you have that perspective. You're also hitting up Europe at the start of next year as well, so there's plenty of potential sites to see over there as well. But
Castle.
I think the most impressive site to be seen is here on the Central Coast at the Entrance Memorial Park, where you'll be hitting up. Is it Let the Good Times Roll?
Let the Good Times Roll Festival.
I couldn't remember.
There's one day after the other.
There's 2 back to back. I couldn't remember if it was Let the Good Times Roll or Rolling Sets, but you'll be up here on the Central Coast for one or the other in December. So just under a month's time, rather. Do you have any other dates planned across Australia?
Yeah, we're doing the Royal Blood Tour, which I think we're doing River Stage again. That's in Queensland, so it'll be sort of a similar, maybe 1 or 2 days before that. But next year, I don't know how. Oh no, fuck it. I can say whatever I want now. We're in ourselves. Like, yeah,
You're yourself.
there's no one to piss off. Yeah, I think we've got a big like world tour plan. So it'll be next year. We've announced the European dates, and then we pretty much follow that up like directly with an American tour back into Australia. And this time I think because we sort of got a bit carried away with doing Europe and America, that Australia, we've only played like 2 shows in Perth since 2017 or 18. Obviously there's COVID in the middle of that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's nuts. And we've been over to Melbourne like 3 times in that same time, which is like, I think we did a couple of festivals as well, but headline shows. So it sort of took it, like, it didn't take that sort of backseat in our own minds, but it was like, all right, like, obviously there's this whole world, and then you come home and you're like, oh shit, like, let's put loads of focus. We started working with a new booking agent over here with Sloaney. Like, so it's like, all right, let's try and go to as many places as we can in Australia, like, next year, and really treat that like our home base, like, which it is, but it's like loads of people are like, oh, like, I thought you were an English band. We're like, no, we're from Perth. We're like, oh, but you were always in England. Like, kind of. So after a while, it kind of got like, it was funny, and then you're like, oh my god, like we probably are here more than home. So yeah, I think we're looking forward to having a big old Australian tour next year and keep that rolling.
You're the opposite of the Wombats.
Yeah, that's like
the British band who always seem to be touring Australia.
Yeah, another one is Alt J. I think everyone thinks they're Australian, aren't they?
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, Jack, we will let you go in just a second. We're about to hit play on Dilemma Us from Evil's. The last thing we released before that album, Fronzoli, dropped just a couple of days ago. Tell us a little bit about the track we're about to play, but also before we go out, how are your feelings towards this album generally? Is it, do you feel it's some of your best work? Are you feeling, I mean, I get the sense that you've got this kind of renewed zest now that you're doing it on your own terms and you've got that honesty with yourself. So what's the attitude and perspective on this album like?
Without sounding arrogant, I think it's the best album that is going to come out in Australia the next decade. It's going to be huge. No, I'm stoked with it. I generally am. I feel like, yeah, it took me years to be like, all right. I always kind of got that imposter thing where you're like, what are you doing music for? Why are you 4 albums in? And I still think my dad is having a big elaborate prank, and one day, like, there's going to be balloons and confetti come down at like somewhere in a festival, and we're like, we got you. Like, that was always in the back of my head. So I was like, all right. And I think this time around, I'm like, nah, screw it. We're a band. Let's write some music that we would like listening to, and not really think about if other people will like it too. Like, sort of trust in our own gut about what we enjoy listening to. And this song, Dilemmas from Evil, was sort of a roundup of that. It's like thinking the world's always going to end, and like you're looking for that panic button, but it's always going to carry on. Because it's just gonna, even if there's 3 people and a mouse somewhere in a cave, it's carrying on. The world will go on. So even if it's a bit different, it's gonna be fun. Might as well enjoy it.
It's a great sentiment and a good attitude to have. And Jack, we can absolutely confirm that the band is real and very influential too. So thanks for your music.
Cheers.
Fronzoli out now. If you haven't heard it already, get onto that and keep an eye out for Australian shows. If you're going to be in Europe February or so next year, you can catch Psychedelic Porn Crumpets there. But until next time, Jack McEwan, thank you so much for coming on and chatting to us at Homebrewed.
Thank you so much for having me on. Cheers.